What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick Dang with the Parallax, and today we have a special guest, possibly one of the greatest comebacks when it comes to NFTs. We have Luca Netz, CEO of Pudgy Penguins. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing great myself. I just want to say thanks for coming on the podcast over here. Really appreciate you spending the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, dude. So starting things off, right? Like, some people, many people already watching this, they might already know what Pudgy Penguins is, but for someone that maybe is new to it or not super familiar, how would you describe Pudgy Penguins to them?
Yeah, so Pudgy Penguins is 8,888 NFTs that live on the Ethereum blockchain. And they are one of the most historically significant PFPs in the world. But more importantly, we're a brand and a company that's focused on impacting people in a positive way. And so we have a community of elite builders and awesome community members. But from a brand perspective, our ethos is how do we build product that people love and how do we create content that makes people happy? And so that's just in a brief version, we know what Pudgy Penguins is, but it all started with an NFT, and we were planning on building the first great IP brand ever built that started with an NFT as its origin.
Gotcha. And that does make sense. Now, when it comes to these interviews, people see the brand, they see the project, but a lot of people also want to know who you are, right? Because you're kind of leading the charge when it comes to everything Pudgy Penguins. So, I'm curious to know, like, before you got into the whole NFT scene, like, what were you doing before? And I did a little research. You were doing like e-commerce and these things of that nature. Now I'm curious to know.
Yeah, so DTC and CPG is really my specialty. So I was fortunate enough to start my first direct consumer business when I was 18. Our first year in revenue, we did about $5 million in sales. And our second, we did about 15. And I became a self-made millionaire at 19, selling stuff online. And so that was a really beautiful moment in time. And it's kind of how I started.
Got you. And then, so you started selling products, and then you just went to NFTs just randomly, or like how'd you stumble upon like crypto and stuff?
Yeah, so I was in crypto pretty early on. I got into crypto in about 2016. I just understood the fundamentals. I believe it's the basic human right for humans to be able to transact without a person in the middle. And so we started mining right when I first started making money. I had like a bunch of mining rigs. Growing up poor, the second I had money, I just began to collect things in the physical world. So things like bear bricks, collectibles, fine art, things like that. And when NFTs came around, they were just a better way to collect. And so I had a huge desire to collect things and a huge love for collecting things. And when NFTs came around, it just was all of the pros of collecting with none of the cons. And so I dove right in.
Gotcha. And I'm curious to know, like, what about collecting do you enjoy? Is it that you get to like connect with other people who also collect, or is it you want to show off? Like, what's the? I mean, I'm just curious, like personally, like, how do you look at things when it comes to collectibles?
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of coming back to my childhood because we grew up really poor, and for show and tell, I never had anything to show. And so now that I'm older, I just want to show things. I think it's a mix of the human ego, the dopamine when you finally get something, and then also the attachment to items. And so I think it's a trifecta of about maybe 3 of those variables. But I don't know. It quite literally is a human phenomenon because I'm not the only one, right? Like I love to collect, and tons of people do as well. And so, yeah, it's a phenomenon to say the least. But it's one that I don't quite understand exactly, but it's one that I'm leaning into nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, we're all kind of still figuring out. I mean, I also collect as well, so I totally understand what you're saying. Okay, so then you started collecting art, bear bricks, and things of that nature, and then NFTs are basically like, hey, I can collect these things, but I don't need the physical product, right? So then from there, were you just like buying up every NFT that you saw under the sun, or like how'd that go?
Yeah, I got the bug pretty bad. And so in all my free time, my girlfriend will tell you I spent a year just obsessing over buying and collecting these things and having my digital gallery. But yeah, that's just kind of how it went down. It's so easy to buy an NFT and it feels so good. It's such an instant dopamine release. It's a problem for collectors for sure.
In a way, yeah, I can see that. And then
a good problem.
Yeah. We're all collectors here, right? So all right, so you're buying NFTs and you basically like buy a bunch of them during the year, right? So what made you like, I guess, inspired to want to like run a project like in general?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I had really no plans to do it, but I believed in the Pudgy Penguins brand so much. And from a collector standpoint, I thought it was the NFT project with the highest upside because I believed it could go places that no other NFT project could go. And I believed it could do things that no other NFT project could do. And just knowing like branding and seeing some of the great brands that have emerged over the last 5 years and seeing their success and understanding, the name that is Pudgy Penguins and the IP and the opportunity, something in my gut just said, hey, like you've built brands at the highest level. This is no different, though I think, I learned the hard way that it's a lot different. But at the time I was thinking to myself, this is no different than what I've done. And the bar
Sure,
is
sure.
extremely low here, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is doing things in this space in terms of raising tons of money from their community and from venture. And they've done a whole bunch of nothing. And I thought to myself, why? Because it's not that hard to do stuff, especially to build a brand. And so I was like, look, I'm going to buy these things. I believe since day one. My belief never faltered, and something in my gut and something in the universe or something came down and touched me and basically said, hey, you have to do this. And so I trusted my gut. I'd neglected it in the past. And this was one of those moments where I decided to take a risk. I'm 24 years old. If I'm ever going to do it, now's the time.
Got you. And let's take a couple steps back because I'm curious. Like, so you're collecting NFTs, and then Pudgy Penguins was doing its thing, right? So how did you like come to the conclusion that like, hey, this is possibly a brand that I might buy and like build into something?
Yeah, so when I first saw Pudgy Penguins, I instantly knew it was a hit. It was a slam dunk at first sight. So I texted all my friends and all my traders, acquaintances, and I basically said, look, you got to buy this. This is like a slam dunk. Nobody's leaning into cute and inclusive is the meta. Today it's still cool and exclusive. Cute and inclusive really has the highest upside. And so I shared it around. They all agreed. 8 months later, I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see a bunch of major players bidding on the IP, and I respected them. And they were definitely really affluent characters in the NFT and crypto space, but none of them knew how to build brands, or none of them were known or experienced in building brands. So I thought to myself, well, Pudgy Penguins just being some native NFT IP is cool, but that's not the upside, right? Like there's really not a huge value proposition there. And to me, this is one of those few moments in life where I feel like I had an opportunity to be a part of something magical. And the IP was magical. It's not even like I had to think about it. I knew the moment I saw a Pudgy Penguin, the first time I saw it on my feed, I was like, this is a banger. This is it. And so my conviction never faltered. Now was just the opportunity. I was complaining about the old team and their lack of production. And what is it to complain? Now the opportunity comes that there's availability to buy it and I have the resources to buy it. And so I can sit there and be a complainer, or I can sit there and be a doer. And so I decided to buy it, and the rest is history.
Got you, got you. And I'm curious to know, like, if you wanted to do a project, right, you can also create your own cute and fun and inclusive brand as well versus, spending money to buy an existing brand. Because Pudgy Penguins is like, at the time, not even a year old, right? So like what compelled you to want to buy it versus just like starting a fresh brand, but using similar elements that might also hit?
Yeah. So the one thing that Pudgy Penguins has that you can't buy, or you at least can't try to replicate, it's really hit or miss, is a community. And they were so tight and so close knit. And a lot of people don't know this, but the people who own Pudgy Penguins, there's a huge group of them that are just the most affluent and impactful people in crypto and NFTs. I mean, the creme de la creme, the executives and the CEOs and the founders of some of the biggest businesses in crypto are a part of Pudgy, and they love Pudgy. And you can't go raise $50 million, start your own NFT project and get their buy-in. You either have it or you don't. And to me, it's the foundation necessary to really win. Like if you really want to be number one, you need that type of buy-in from those type of players. And Pudgy Penguins always had that. And those guys never sold. They loved the community. They loved the memes. They loved the vision, or at least the IP or the thought of a future vision. I knew that all it needed was a real operator to do real things, to give them ammo to champion the brand. And that was my objective and my task. I think the IP is magical, though I think you can replicate magical IP. I think there's the right group of people, and there's definitely really talented artists out there that can do that. Though I think that IP is extremely magical, and I don't believe it's to be underestimated. But on the flip side, the real X factor is this base of just crypto Twitter and NFT Twitter powerhouses that you can't buy. You can't convince them to buy. You can't outreach and market to that. You either have it or you don't. Like apes had it, right? Punks had it. Penguins have it, right? The only difference between, punks and apes versus penguins is, they had, a moment in time where their leadership was working at an efficient manner during a time where the market was really good. And so I believe that history will repeat itself with Pudgy Penguins like it did with them. And it's just a matter of timing and the right conditions coming around. But I've always said this for a long time, but penguins are inevitable.
Penguins are inevitable. Okay. No, I totally get that, right? Like if people have penguins and they're repping it as their PFP, you can't really convince the CEO of like XYZ to do that, right? So I understand what you're saying. Okay. So now that you've already purchased the brand and you're continuing to build, right? So like what is the long-term vision? Is it like, because you got all these builders and like strong supporters of Pudgy, but then you're also going for more of a IP play where there's like plushies and there's like an Instagram account, like creating content. Like, so what's the high level vision there?
Yeah, I mean, from a really high level, a bird's eye view, we're going to build the first great Web3 IP company that the world's ever seen. And we're going to do that bringing NFT technology to the masses, as well as NFT IP. We're going to leverage our Web3 community, which I believe is a hive mind and a superpower. And there's really 5 initiatives and 5 paths to success. The first one I think is consumer product goods. The second one I believe is gaming. The third one I believe is film and TV. The fourth one I believe is the right partnerships and the right licenses. And the fifth one is expanding and accruing value into the Web3 ecosystem in a way that I think is detrimental to the success of Pudgy Penguins. And so those are really the 5 things that are in the forefront of my mind from a bird's eye view. And to accomplish and to build Pudgy Penguins into a multi-billion-dollar business, those are the verticals that we're going to have to conquer.
So is it like you have this base of the original, like I guess like Genesis collection, right? And then you want to create things like movies and you tell me actually, like let's say like you do a movie, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's how do you get Pudgy Penguin toys into every Walmart and Target across the country? And how do you get people dying to have a Pudgy Penguin toy? Can you turn the Pudgy Penguin toy into a Beanie Baby and what that was? Can you create the next Club Penguin, right? Because there's an interesting nerve that we can tap into there. Can you create the next Happy Feet from a film perspective? Or a Pengu, right? This is throwing it way back. And so this is kind of the thesis here. I don't want to spend too much time diving into each vertical, because one thing I do is once I start talking too much, I give a little bit too much alpha. But like from a high level perspective, that's the thesis. Like how do you build the world's first great penguin brand? Like think about that. Every character and every animal, like lions and cats and dogs, have been built in a really meaningful way. And everybody loves penguins, but nobody's built a penguin brand the way that it's supposed to be. But penguin plush is everywhere. You just don't know what it is. It's just, a blank plush. But the penguin character is loved and adored across the world. And we plan on being the world's first ever great evergreen penguin brand, but also the world's first ever great Web3 IP that transcends just this NFT ecosystem. I think everybody in the space, or the leaders in the space, are looking within the space to create. And, my objective and where I believe Pudgy Penguin's role is going to play in growing Web3 is being the Trojan horse, being the unintimidating character to make people fall in love, not only with the IP, but with the message and with the brand. And how to do that, I think, is across those 5 verticals. But over the course of time, I think it's going to be a really interesting movie and show to watch.
So if someone were to create like a modern IP today, right, they don't necessarily need to have that Web3 element, right? They can have the movies, the toys, and things like that. So what I'm curious to know is like what is the advantage of being a Web3 brand per se, like a native brand moving into like mainstream?
Yeah, so the NFT is an incentive mechanism that bridges the consumer and the brand, at least from an IP perspective, in a way that has never been done before. And so don't underestimate the voices of 5,000 people echoing to all of their friends, family, and followers about something, because the chain reaction there can be really, really special. And so from my perspective, what makes it different and what makes it better is with an NFT, you have your first 5,000 super fans. You have your first 5,000 affiliates, your first 5,000 champions, your first 5,000 customer reviews, your first 5,000 feedback loop. And so why would I go start an IP, me in a basement or in an office somewhere all by myself? If you actually look at it, this is why I think what we're doing and what we're trailblazing is so important. Making a traditional IP in the real world is almost impossible. But with NFTs, you can kind of fundraise quick. And then you also have this superpower where people will champion and promote your IP in a really expedited fashion in a way that has never been done before. And so to me, the NFT is that incentive mechanism because you have 5,000 holders, you have this NFT, and then you have the brand. And the more that the holders champion the brand, the more successful the brand becomes. And the more successful the brand becomes, the more successful the NFT becomes. And so you have, for the first time, consumer and brands' interests are mutually aligned. And that is the superpower. And that is why Web3 is better versus building in Web2. Now, it has its own set of cons, right? Like it's definitely emotionally draining in terms of, some of the interaction that you have to constantly do on a daily basis. Like it is hard, but I think the pros outweigh the cons.
I see. So do you feel like so far, just being a Web3 brand and like having, these thousands of people kind of championing the Pudgy Penguins brand, like has it helped you like get into different rooms, different opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have if you were, just a regular Web2 IP?
Oh, completely. I mean, holders are putting me in group chats with, the other day, one of our holders introduced me to Paul Nicklin. And Paul Nicklin is National Geographic's #1 photographer. And he's known for some of the most famous penguin pictures. He has like 10 million followers on Instagram. I had like multiple meetings with Paul Nicklin, a guy that I used to look up to watching on the Discovery Channel. And I didn't make that introduction. He didn't reach out to me. I didn't reach out to him. A holder connected me via email. I was like, great, right? Like, talk about that. So maybe there's something to be done with Paul Nicklin. That's a partnership that would take, a whole back and forth with a BD team or your head of partnerships. He would be handling that. And instead it just fell into my lap, i.e. the power of Web3.
Got you. So then you could take that example and then like multiply by however so many people in that network. And just because someone has a Pudgy, they're like, hey man, like you should meet this guy. Like just easy as that, huh?
Yeah.
So I guess when you start creating this IP, like whether it's movies, toys, and all these things, right? Obviously, that's going to build more attention for the brand, right? And I'm just curious to know your thoughts on: do you feel that the more attention a brand has in general, like that actually drives value back into the NFT holder? Like I'm just, I'm just curious to know your opinion on it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Bored Ape is Bored Ape because they put on a brand awareness masterclass in the best market condition, right? Like at the best moment, at the best time. It's a brand, at the end of the day, it's brand awareness, right? And so it's like, how big is your top of the funnel? Because if your top of the funnel is 10 million people, and then you have on the bottom of your funnel 8,888 Pudgy Penguins, out of 10 million fans and consumers, you're telling me that 1% of them won't want to buy the NFT? I mean, of course they will, right? I mean, that's like, it's fandom. It's behavior we're already seeing today with things like Pokemon, things like Magic Gathering, things like Bakugan. Like, I mean, the list is endless, right? And people spend tons of money when they're super fans. And all you need is 1% to really participate. And so I think at the end of the day, who's going to win and who's going to lose is going to be based on brand awareness and who can market better. Obviously, I think there's ways that you can ruin that. I think there's a lot of things you have to do in between that. But the person who's going to be #1 and the person who's going to be #5, if they all do the same things correctly, right? They all communicate, they all listen to their community, they all innovate, they build tech, they build product. The one who's going to win is the one with the most brand awareness.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like we are kind of in the attention economy, right? So then whoever has the attention can kind of redirect the attention into anything they choose, technically, right?
Yeah.
And then one thing I'm curious to know is I was listening to another interview that you did, and then you kind of mentioned the idea of like, if someone holds a Pudgy Penguin and then that Pudgy is used in something that there's like this whole IP thing, maybe that they get something back because it was used. Like, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, I'm a firm believer that to really accrue value to holders, there's a couple different verticals, but one that we want to spearhead at Pudgy is licensing. And so Bored Ape has an approach where they just basically say, hey, you have the right to license and monetize your IP. And that's a great model. I think that's a really good frictionless model. But at its core, 1 out of every 1,000 people or 1 out of every 500 people know how to do that. And so at scale, to really accrue value in a way that I believe is super meaningful, the brand has to take initiative. And so I'm thinking of it from my perspective. Well, I know I have to make product. I know I have to make toys and collectibles and t-shirts and hoodies. I know I have to make content on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. And so when I do these things, I need to be using Penguin IP, obviously, right? Because our brand is Pudgy Penguins. And when I use Pudgy Penguin IP, why would I go make a Pudgy Penguin that doesn't exist on the blockchain? I might as well pull it off of, one of the 8,888 and use that asset to create a product or a piece of content. And when I do that, there's somebody on the other side of it who owns that, because we don't own any Pudgy, or we own, 20 Pudgy Penguins internally at the team. And so it's my responsibility, and this is just how I think of it, but I should pay you for the right to use your Pudgy Penguin in a toy. And I should pay you for the right to use your Pudgy Penguin in a collectible or in an Instagram post or in a Giphy, in a GIF. And so this is where I think things are going to get really interesting for us, because we're going to spearhead this in a way that I think nobody's even imagining. And in the next, 10 to 12 weeks, this will kind of come to fruition. And it will be something that I think is really going to change the space forever. And so being able to show people that, hey, you own something. We have a vision of building a multi-billion-dollar brand. And when we do that, we're taking you along with the ride, and not just saying, hey, we hope your NFT accrues value. We hope the funnel model works. Like, we're going to make sure that when we build product and that we make content, you're involved. And that's scalable, right? I can get it at every Penguin if we're licensing and co-publishing on content, right? And this is where I think things are going to get really, really interesting.
I see. And just to clarify, so it would be you guys as Pudgy Penguins, you're like, hey, we're going to do a plushie, for example, right? So you would pick out one of the penguins or a couple of the penguins out of the 8,000 some, and you would tell that guy, hey, we chose your penguin, so we're going to give you a licensing royalty or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah. And so moving forward, we're going to do a lot of upfront payments. So it'll be, hey, you have a Pudgy Penguin. Mm-hmm. I want to pay you 5 ETH to make that Pudgy Penguin a collectible. Yes or no? They'll click yes. Right? Or hey, we have an Instagram post. We'll pay you 0.1 Ethereum for the right to use your penguin in an Instagram post. Free 0.1, free money, right? And so that's how the cycle continues. And so eventually, again, as we make more money, if our brand, or when our brand is making hundreds of millions of dollars a year selling toys and products, which I think we can achieve, instead of 0.1, I can give you 1 Ethereum because our Instagram is more powerful. It's converting higher. There's more ROAS, so I can share more of the value. To me, it's all about sharing the value in the story. Somebody asked me earlier today, well, doesn't that kind of, isn't that a loss, a sunk cost? From a ROAS perspective, like a return on ad spend, yeah, probably. But it's not about ROAS, it's about the story. And it's about the narrative, and it's about changing IP forever.
So then if someone, let's say they want to buy a Pudgy Penguin, and they're like, okay, maybe I might get lucky, and then they might hit me up and, use my Pudgy for something, right? Is it like...
Well, in the future, I don't want to give too much alpha, but there's going to be a place where this is going to be really easy. And as long as you're participating in the Pudgy Penguin ecosystem and you're following the account and you're, paying attention to what Pudgy Penguins is doing, you'll be able to participate and you won't miss out.
Got you. Which makes sense, right? Because you would want to also, in some way, reward people who are active and championing the brand, right? So if there's a way for them to be like, hey, raising my hand, you might feel like, all right, let's use this guy. Okay. That's actually quite interesting. So it incentivizes the person to just hold and participate.
And participate. Simple. It incentivizes holding and participation, which is really the key. Because if you can incentivize enough people to hold and enough people to participate, then again, that comes into a moment. It's like math. There's an inflection point, and then boom, Pudgy Penguins, the NFTs become really hard to get.
Yeah, because everyone thinks the narrative would be so strong, and someone will be like, "Oh, like they used my penguin in this thing, and then I got this. What? I need a Pudgy Penguin too." Okay, I totally get I totally get what you mean, man. Which is actually quite innovative in a sense, to be honest. Another question that I actually have is like, so far you've already done plushies and you put them in stores and things of that nature, right? So far.
So plushies, we go to market end of Q1, beginning of Q2.
Oh, okay. So it's not in the market yet. It's just like,
so everything will go to market, which is what I'm excited about, because that's like really, my specialty and what I do best is, make products go viral. So I'm excited.
Oh, I see. Because like if you put let's say a Pudgy Penguins in, for example, like Toys R Us or something like that, right? If someone's like walking through the store in Toys R Us and they see the penguin, what if they don't make the immediate connection to like, oh, like that's Pudgy Penguins from the Web3 brand? they're just a random person, right? In like whatever city that penguin is at.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the nature of a lot of products in retail. Like it's just as much putting a Pudgy Penguin in a retail store is just as much a marketing initiative as anything else, right? And so some will be familiar, some won't be, but the beauty is making sure that when they purchase the product, the experience makes them want to learn more, right? So this is where a lot of people go wrong, but making sure that experience is interesting enough and that people love it enough to take a deeper dive.
If they're interested in the penguins, maybe they learn more about it on Twitter or find it on Instagram and stuff like that. And if they're
Exactly.
not,
And so the
then they're not,
beauty
right? Yeah.
yeah, we're Pudgy Penguins. We're easy to find. We have a blue check on every social media. It's at Pudgy Penguins. If you're looking for the brand, you'll find it.
Got you. And then do you also plan to have like, let's say, because you guys as Pudgy Penguins want to use the different penguins and use it for different licensing things, right? Now on the other end, do you also want brands to like build a company on top of Pudgy Penguins and like say like, hey, I'm going to buy like 5 of these. Let's do a band or let's do a, something.
Oh, totally. And I tell the community this, my thing is we just are really keen. Like we're a family friendly brand. So the only thing you can't do is, make a cigarette company with Pudgy Penguins smoking cigarettes. Right. And so that is something that we would control and that we would kind of shut down. But as long as it's, something that's PG, it has our blessing. And so that's one of the superpowers about Web3 again, is you have they have the right to leverage the Pudgy Penguin brand and make amazing products and do amazing things with it. And so, this is where our interests align. As long as it's a good representation of us, it's something that I tell the community all the time. Like I want you guys to do, and I want you guys, to get creative, and it has my support.
What do you think that needs to happen to reach that point where you're attracting like the best talent to be like, oh, like if I'm going to do a brand in XYZ, I got to get a Pudgy. So when people are deciding to build into Web3, right? They have the option to build on top of a brand like Pudgy or Bored Ape or whatever it is. But if they have the skill set, they will also think, hey, why don't I just create my own NFT project and just like own the whole IP, right? So I'm curious to know for Pudgy, like what needs to happen to attract all these entrepreneurs and business owners to want to build on top of the IP.
Yeah, I think I need to do a better job incentivizing and encouraging and motivating, I think is probably one, which is actually an interesting question. And two, to the NFT project side, easier said than done. And it is a commitment. And so some people might not be ready to make 1,000% commitment. Maybe somebody wants to create, a Pudgy Penguin hot sauce as a hobby on the side, right? And they're doing it after work and they spend 3 or 4 hours. I mean, if you decide to go make an NFT project, be ready to give it 150%. If not, be ready to face the consequences. And not a lot of people are experienced here. So somebody may be like, hey, I want to go, I've been in fast food for 20 years. I don't want to go make my own NFT project. I'll just go take this Pudgy Penguin and make a burger joint out of it. And so it's really based on core competencies and what people are good at. And that's kind of where the variable exchange lies.
Okay, that's fair. Because not everybody wants to start an NFT project because it comes with a lot of stress and burden and problems as well, right? So if they can just like use the IP and do a burger joint or a hot sauce or something, that actually might be easier for them, right? They'll be like, oh, I don't have to worry about the floor price.
Exactly. And trust me, worrying about the floor prices.
Yeah, that's a challenge in itself. I totally understand. So is there anything like, in particular that you kind of wanted to like share with the community in terms of like future plans or, and maybe any things that you felt like was important to share?
Yeah, the community is pretty familiar, but this is the year. Like this is a year, 2023 is a year where I think we make huge strides and we show the world, we really put numbers on the board. That's what I'm all about, right? And so I can't control floor price. I can't control market conditions. What I can do is put numbers on the board. And when people are deciding to make a decision as to which NFT they're going to buy, they're going to look at what everything Pudgy Penguins has done. They're going to look at everything everybody else has done. And if they are interested in somebody who is really pushing the envelope and getting things done in a way that nobody else is, they're going to make a decision to come to the Pudgy Penguin community. If they, for some reason, don't want to be a part of that, then my ethos here is you can only deny greatness for so long. And so it's my job to make Pudgy Penguins great. And it may not translate in real time, but eventually it will. And when that greatness transpires, it will transcend anything anybody is doing in Web3. And I believe we're going to be the people to really bridge the gap. I really believe we're going to be the IP and we're going to be the project to bring people from the regular world, from the world we all are accustomed to or were accustomed to, and bring them into this one. I believe we're the best position to do it. I believe our strategy and our ethos and our messaging is the best position to accomplish that goal.
Got you. Okay. I mean, yeah, I totally understand the vision. So as we go ahead and wrap up our interview over here, I mean, that was a nice message over there. But are there any final words that you kind of want to leave our audience before we go ahead and get out of here?
I hope everyone's having a great day. And if you're not, be grateful, because things can get tough, but things always get better. It's not NFT advice or NFT alpha, just life advice.
Yeah, just life in general, right?
Yeah.
All right, I hear you. All right, Luca. Well, I appreciate you coming on the Parallax. Thank you for sharing your story. And if you want to check out Pudgy Penguins, just check them out. They have all the socials, Twitter, Instagram. You can find it easily. So yeah, Luca, man, thanks for coming on. I'll catch you later.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. See ya.